So CNN did a segment where one of their analysts broke down some data within a poll showing that Trump has an increased support among African American voters compared to this time in 2020. And what they were looking at was particularly young African Americans under the age of 50. His support has tripled. It went from 7 up to 21%. Joe Biden's support obviously also went down, from 2020, compared to 2020 till today. So that signifies that there is a political realignment in progress, that a segment of the African Americans voters have shifted politically, or at least willing to shift politically, because they're probably looking at the situation. They realize that their interests are not being represented. They're seeing the persecution of Trump. He's basically being railroaded. They're seeing all this stuff, and you're seeing a realignment in progress. Okay, so the establishment is looking at this, and with that kind of shift, there isn't enough ballot printers to offset that difference. They can't cheat enough to close the gap that is forming right now. In official polls, and a lot of these are cooked polls, Trump is ahead by 1% nationally. And of course, they oversample Democrats when they do this. So you can imagine, with Trump, even with a cooked poll, being ahead, and not to mention also that people who are supporting of Trump are more likely to actually go out and vote because they're more motivated to vote. So you have this kind of situation where the establishment is going to have a very difficult time trying to sell the idea, especially if Joe Biden doesn't step down, if Biden and Kamala Harris are actually on the ticket and they actually are going to be who Trump's going to be running against. And that kind of situation is going to be very difficult to square that kind of circle. So the establishment is looking at this and they're thinking, okay, what do we have to do? What do we have to put in the news cycle to dissuade African Americans from voting for Trump? Well, I can tell you already that last week I made a video about a headline that the FBI supposedly stopped a man from Arizona from doing a shooting in Atlanta, Georgia, where he says that he was trying to start a race war. And this is something I've been warning about already. And this is the type of thing that I'm wary of. I think this is where the so-called deep state's going to go next. They're already starting with this kind of headlines. They're trying to get this in people's consciousness. They may very well try to stage events or trying to get some weirdos wound up to actually go through with such, things like that. They're going to actually commit shootings. They may try to shoot up black churches, and they're going to blame it on Trump supporters, that kind of thing. And they're going to do this to try to change the news cycle, to put that in the headlines that, the news is that Trump supporters are racist, they're out to attack, minorities or, whatever. And they're going to try to dissuade other groups of people from voting for Trump. The solution to this is you have to warn people. I already made a video before about this last week, about the headline where the FBI supposedly stopped somebody from doing something like this. I think they're going to try to do this again. I think this is going to be in the news cycle. Do not put it past the deep state to do stuff like this. The CIA is on record doing all sorts of shenanigans to overthrow governments that they don't like. The CIA, by law, is not supposed to operate in the United States, but they do. And you better bet your bottom dollar that they're at least thinking about doing something like this. So, like I said, the solution is to warn people. To warn people that this is the type of stuff that deep state can do. Or it could also very well be some crazy wound up person. It is an election year. I've said it many times that this is going to be a crazy year. It's going to get crazier and crazier as the year goes on. The establishment is going to get desperate. They're not going to just give up power. I can say that much for sure. And people, given that it is a presidential year, it's a very important election year. Given how contentious and how divided people are, you're going to get a lot of wound up people to do crazy things. So I would go out and warn people that this is definitely a possibility. And if something like this does happen, I think there's a very good possibility that such an event could be staged, or it could be something that corrupt elements of the federal government could wind somebody up to do something like this. So definitely be on your guard and definitely go out and warn people about this.